Yo, welcome to another Craftopia tips and tricks. Now this is the second episode of this series. If you haven't watched the first yet, I'll put a link down in the description. But here we are at episode 2 of my top 5 beginners tips and tricks. Now these aren't just for beginners, these could be for anybody, but I would imagine if you've been playing the game for a long time, you will know most of them, but you never know, there could be something in here for everybody. But before we get started, if this guide does help you, please do drop a like and subscribe. We are so close to 1,000, it is unreal, so thank you. But let's do this. So to kick things off, let's talk about item details. Head over to your craft menu. Now you can do this on all kinds of workbenches, furnaces, that kind of thing, but also just on your inventory craft menu as well. Find the item you're looking to craft. So for this purpose, we're just going to take the auto cooker, and maybe there's something in the list of resources that you need to make it that you're not sure how to get or how to craft. The way you would do this is by going down to the bottom right hand corner here where it says details. If you click on the details, it brings up those list of items, and you can now go in, select the item you're not sure about. So for this purpose, let's take the steel ingot. We click on the magnifying glass on the ingot, and we can see that we need iron ingot combined with a furnace. Now this is a simple example, but there is some stuff in the game that needs such a combination of things. For example, the pet management machine, some of this stuff is not clear on how to get it. So we would go into the details, we would see what we're confused about. Let's take the circuit boards, for example. As you can see, the circuits require a bunch of items. For example, what is this? We would click the magnifying glass, we would see that that's ceramic, and to make it, we can see we need 2 clay, 2 logs into a furnace. Now, if you weren't sure what one of these items are, you can do the same again. Press it again. Now, the great thing about this is just say you go into this item, you can now get a list of everything that that item is used on in the game. So maybe we want to go back to our ceramic to check a different item out. So we will click the ceramic again, and it will go back. So again, we can see that the ceramic is used for all of these items in the game. Now this is great for when you're trying to make an item and one of the required materials, you don't even know what it is, let alone how to actually make it. So this is an extremely useful tip. You will use this pretty much forever. I still use it to this day, and it saves you having to remember everything off by heart or going in and checking each item individually. Instead, you have this large library of everything in the game and how to make it. Now for this tip, we're going to talk about keeping your automations going no matter where you are within that biome, using what we call monoliths. Now, I've done an entire video on monoliths, so I'll put the link down in the description. So I'm just going to run over that quickly, but there is also a setting that you can enable that will mean that you don't need to even use monoliths and your automations will always keep going. But first, let's briefly talk about the monoliths. So with automations in this game, as you get too far away, the automations will stop running. You may have had it happen to yourself and you've gone back to your automation and there's nothing in the chest and you're like, what? So here behind me, I have automated bioethanol. Now, if I was to go too far away, this would stop working. So what I'm actually able to do is go into a workbench and craft a monolith. Now there's 2 different types of monoliths. There's the smaller version and the 3x3 version. The smaller version, as you can see, gives you this size, which is still very big. So I could bring that over here and find the right angle for it, but basically anything within this radius would keep going. So I place it down, enable it, and you can see anything in there would keep going. Now, if you're struggling to make that fit, you've also got the 3x3, which if we enable that one, is absolutely huge. Any automation within that zone will keep running as long as you stay in the same biome. However, I do go into a bit more detail on that in the full monolith guide, which again is down in the description. But let's take a look at this setting. So we're going to head back to our main menu. Now, before we change this setting, I do not recommend doing this if you're on an older generation Xbox. Not until the optimization is here. I would still continue to use the monoliths. It may be okay if you're on a Series X. Maybe someone can let me know down in the comments below. But I'm on PC, so we're going to go ahead and do it. So what we do is we're on our main screen here. We go into our settings, in-game settings, and here we have physics simulation territory limit. Now when this is ticked, as you can see, it disables the physics that are processing afar from a player to increase the performance, especially with a map with many buildings. So if we actually uncheck this option, that now means I have no use for the monoliths and everything will keep running. But as I said, use this carefully because I don't want your games to crash because you've got a bunch of buildings, a bunch of automizations, especially if you're on console. If you're on PC, this is probably a better setting to turn off. But the monoliths literally do the same thing. It just means that you have to put them around your optimizations. Up next, we're going to talk about multi-selecting. Now, you may be aware of the picture book. Again, if you don't know what the picture book is, there'll be a link down in the description below to a full guide explaining how you can get free stat boosts from items you don't want. But for the sake of this, I'm going to assume you know what the picture book is. And this is just an easier way to offer the items. If you head into your inventory, you've got the select multiple on the left-hand side. If you click that, you can now go through, select the items that you don't want, go through, maybe you don't want them, like whatever you don't want, you can then press offer an item, and that takes all of those 6 items and offers it to your picture book. This is a much better thing to do than to drop an item or remove it from the game. If you don't want the item, offer it to the book. It can only benefit you, as you will get free stat boosts. Up next, we're going to talk about the breeder. Now, I'm sure you know, if you put 2 of the same animal or NPC on a breeder, it makes more of that creature. However, there is actually a way to trick this a little bit and to potentially change the levels of the things that you are trying to breed. Let me demonstrate. So let's put a breeder down. Now, let's say, for example, we have 1 merchant and we have 1 of anything else. We can use the 2 different creatures to make more of the one that we wish. So let's say, for example, we want more merchants. We would put the merchant on the left-hand side, and we would put anything else on the right-hand side. Could be a cow, could be a pig, could be an NPC, whatever. But we're going to put that on the right-hand side. For this demonstration, I've just got an Anubis. So let's put him on that side. Now, that will actually make more merchants because we put the merchants on the left-hand side. There we go. Now, this is a great idea for if you also want to change the levels of your creatures slightly. So, have a very high level creature, the highest level you can get. Then go and capture anything else. Put the highest level on the right hand side, even a level 1 on the left hand side. And that level 1 will make more of the same creature, but more towards the level of the right hand side. Now, I understand that may be a bit confusing, but just think about it this way. It doesn't matter what is on the right. You will spawn more of what is on the left. Let's just say we have a level 200 elephant. We put that on the right hand side. Then we have a level 5 mono. So we put that on the left hand side. Now, when that then breeds, it will bring out more monos because the mono was on the left. But it will be a higher level than the mono on the left because of the level 200 elephant on the right. I know it sounds a bit mind-boggling, but just give it a try. You will soon understand and you will see how useful it is, especially if you don't want to go farming for a specific creature at a higher level. You could technically breed one. And finally, one of the more confusing features in the game. Again, a full, simpler guide down in the description below. I've had a lot of feedback from people saying that that guide is way more easier to understand than some of the other guides out there. So be sure to check it out if you're not too sure about refining. Refining is a way we can make our main weapon stronger using spare versions of that weapon. Let me just demonstrate. So here we have 2 bows. Say, for example, this is my main weapon. I like using this one, but while I was out exploring, I found another one. So we've got main, we got spare. So what I can do, I can go into this side, put my main in there, go into the middle and put a refinement stone in. Over this side, we put the spare. Now that goes across to my main weapon and makes it actually stronger. Now we can do this a lot of time depending on the weapon, but I go into full detail on that in the guide. But if you're not sure about refinement, it is definitely needed within the game and I highly recommend checking it out. And that brings us to the end of my top 5 tips and tricks for beginners. Now, I know I flew through these quite a lot and then said that I've got a guide on my channel, but I will put all of the guides down in the description below. The problem is I make so many guides. I upload a guide every single day that it's hard to mention things that I haven't already made a video about. That's why I mentioned them briefly, because to be honest, these tips and tricks videos, they do get seen by more people than specific guides. So it's a way to pass that information on. You can go and research that yourself if you like. You can just go and do it in the game. But if you need a few more pointers around that subject, there's more than likely a guide on my channel for it. But I really hope this did help you out. If it did, please do drop a like and subscribe. Comment down below with any guides you'd like to see or any help that you may need. This community is amazing and I'm sure myself or somebody else is more than happy to help you. Go and utilize these tips and tricks. But most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!